country. But instead, it's the land of the fraud. And you ain't nothing but a fraud too, you lying son of a... El pueblo que se alza en la lucha con voz de gigante, gritando adelante. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
I see a great healing power in that.
Oh, mental ill person can perform. Oh.
The arts, movement, dance, music, painting, making things with your hands. People are literate. People can tell their stories. They can change the world.
Performing the community, each and every day we do it. But I think the difference is that when one is on the stage, it's like now I'm saying like pay attention, look at me, but each and every day, these things we perform them without planning them.
We need to perform our humanity, not just to speak about it.
Coming from a theatre background, I was fascinated with the effects that people were saying this work was having, because it wasn't designed for them particularly as people with mental illness. It was designed to make theatre with groups of people, and yet they were saying that for them they felt themselves developing, they felt themselves able to better live their lives and feel more empowered. And I was kind of thinking, well, why is this the case?
It opens new spaces for people. It makes them closer to the possibilities of transformation.
Wow, anybody can be an actor, not just movie stars.
This performance that we do as academics, this performance of researcher, couldn't kids do it? Couldn't anybody do it?
And so I started doing improv because I wanted to relearn how to play.
Performance is something what enables people just to move, to make a small step out of reality. That to use and to build on activities which are present in everyday life.
That there's a way to work together to actually bring about changes, on a larger international stage.
I think at that particular time, performance is acting as a better therapy than any other therapy, like drugs and any other therapies that are practiced.
So hey, it's a big theater out there. Come join us.
We have to redo the whole damn thing, and the way to redo it is to perform it. This time around, the people of the world will just get together and do a new show, a new performance. We'll try it again, because the last one, and we're all involved in this, stinks. That's what I mean by performing the world.
In my case, actually, it's been recently, maybe 1 year ago, that I actually started getting more into this direction of using performance, exploring applied theater in my work. And it's difficult because sometimes I feel alone. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing there, because it's a pretty new thing in Serbia. And that's why I appreciate coming here and kind of, you get a confirmation, like, okay, well, it really makes sense what you're doing, and you should not fall down so easily when you go back. It's developmental, and because it opens new spaces for people. It makes them closer to the possibilities of transformation and of exploring who they are, who they can become, and that's it.
In order to create art, you have at least 2 layers that have to be mobilized. You have to create an ensemble and a group, not only as performers but as creators, so they are at the same time creating their community relationships, which have to be, by definition, based on equality of all the participants, even though they play different roles in what they are doing. But as creators, they have the equal feeling of importance in the place. So it empowers a person. And second, you create an imaginary world of with your body or with the words or with anything, in which you can start to see the future and possibilities that are not yet here. So it's something completely turned toward the future, which is very hopeful because of the energy of connecting everybody and giving a power of multiple visions coming together.
It allows people to be other than who they normally are. And there's something just integral about theatre to that. Like, for a psychologist or for a modernist educator, there's an essence of finding your true self. Like, what is your true self? What is your true self? Blah, 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 blah. Which I was always dissatisfied with. From my experience, from my early experiences in therapy, it was kind of frustrating because it was like, well, then what? That seemed as restrictive. Once we find out what the true self is, that seems as restrictive as, my parents were on me. Okay, good kid, good student, be that. That's what your true self is. But with theatre, and I saw psychology having this discussion about self, not self, getting rid of should we, shouldn't we. With theatre, there's never any discussion. With theatre, it's I want you to be a 95-year-old grandmother. The last person I want to see on you is you. On there is you. I don't want that. If I see you, if I see your true self, you're not doing your job properly. So with theatre, the idea of being your true self is a nonsense. It's a hindrance. It's a problem. So for theatre people, we don't have that debate. I could say, well, theatre is in some way more advanced than mainstream psychology because we have given up on it. We never had it.
So today I am clearer that, in a sense, we have two voices. There's a voice often of protest, a public voice, which is, often necessarily rhetorical, accusing, declaring. And then there's a more poetic voice, a more reflective voice. And that voice needs to be heard and to become confident, to build new performances of humanity. And so for me, it's impossible to imagine transformation of any kind, personal or social, if we don't understand that we need to perform our humanity, not just to speak about it. And the performance of humanity, for me, means that you need to understand the theatre or theatrical principles of being human and of everyday space.
I think that performing the world as revolutionary activity is the most serious and profound challenge to psychology that there has ever been. And by psychology, I mean both the field of psychology and as a discipline that has followed the natural science model and relates to us as if we were no different from the animals. Performing, number one, is an alternative, a challenge to both the isolated individualism of psychology, because you can't perform by yourself. Performance implies an audience, at least. It implies an other.
Now all sculptors come out over here and look at the image that has been created.
And also it's an alternative kind of conception to behavior, to all we do is behave. It's an alternative to the internal-external dichotomy that we we have all these internal states that somehow have to get out, and all the outside stuff we have to then internalize, and that's how we become socialized and live in the world. Psychology is a false view that what we are is what we are. And revolutionary activity and performance challenge that because they're about what we're becoming.
I think that people become aware of their potentials, and what they really did, because they did it, and to appreciate what they created, and to appreciate the group with whom they created, and it is inseparable. What Vygotsky said in his some of his papers or lectures, when he spoke about education, he was talking also about his view of development, and then in this open and revolutionary way, and then said, if the life becomes art, then the education will not be needed anymore. That's so strong, and it's something that's so challenging.
I to drvo se kretalo, istraživalo, gledalo.
Drivers, cars, are your eyes closed? No. Cars, close your eyes.
I'm on a mission, I think, to, sorry, it's a pretty emotional mission for me. It's to, I think our schools and education are very destructive places for the most, actually, I want to say for the most part, but I think even the most creative schools are destructive in a very basic way, which is that they are about they're about knowing where we're going to end up. So I've been working in 3 schools in Brooklyn this year, and 2 of them at least are decent schools, certainly by inner city school standards, which is pretty not great. But you sort of systematically see the dumbing down of these children, and these are 4th graders, and so that's like you feel like you're watching a moment in which lives are being destroyed, and being destroyed by people who, honest to God, love these kids and are there because they want to help them. But the kids are getting dumber by the minute. The what they're being asked to do, the questions they're being asked, the amount of responsibility they're given, which is pretty much zero for the creating of it, is very disturbing to me. And I think, I know performance as a methodology has a lot to offer, and I think improvisation in particular is a tool by which you can begin to create something different and see possibilities. I don't think in and of itself it will transform those schools, but it will give people within them, it's almost like a life raft. It does give people within them a way to express their humanity and their creativity in the midst of very constraining environments.
But you're going to get there by doing what the 2 of you can do together. This is a completely we activity. Okay? So try it again.
Being an adolescent and teenager, that's one of the most conservatized times, in my opinion, in life. The kids think they're hip and they're radical and they're breaking out of things, but they all look alike with the same outfit. They're extremely concerned with how people see them and what they're doing and if they look right and if they got it right. And so what performance does is to give you a tool to introduce to them a way of being other than that they feel more comfortable with, because they, either think they're acting or they learn some things through performance. They're willing to take the risk to perform, and you can't grow developmentally unless you're willing to take risk. I don't know, it makes them bigger. It makes them other. It makes them have a sense of themselves and what they can succeed at and perform, that going to school and sitting in a classroom just doesn't. Poverty robs you of the right to be a kid, because oftentimes you have to start dealing with things that most adults in this country never have to deal with. So we give them that back, and I think there's a real connection to being creative, in touch with who they are, being childlike, if you will, young, and being able to dream.
And it's quite hard, I have to say, with university students to challenge their understanding of what counts as learning and what counts as education, what counts as a proper classroom. I ask them constantly questions like, what was the best learning experience you ever had, anywhere? And they describe these, sitting in a cafe, going out to a field, playing a game, going to a teacher's house, all this stuff. And then I say, so, and what's it mean to be a good student? Oh, sitting in class, taking notes, raising your hand when you have a question, something completely distant from the best learning experience. So I try to really challenge that.
What could be controversial about free after-school development programs with inner-city kids? Well, when you work in poor communities without going through government agencies or established NGOs, that's controversial. When you primarily fund your work with individual donations instead of government or large corporate or foundation monies, that's controversial. When you have a group approach that doesn't focus on the individual, that's controversial. When instead of setting out to help or educate or enrich poor young people, you actually build something with them, that's controversial. And when you don't censor our young people, that's controversial too. People talk about eliminating poverty, but when poor people find ways to build bridges to other social strata and create something new that actually engages the underdevelopment of poverty and its causes, what is that? So who is it controversial with? Many politicians, with government and educational bureaucrats, and with people who don't like or are afraid of poor people.
I can't say to someone about what I really feel about them? Sure you can. Okay. Listen here.
What do I gotta do?
All you gotta do is take a piece of paper. Now take a piece of paper. And write what you want to say. Then hand it over to my secretary down at the Department of Censorship, better known as the DOC. That's right, Holy Roller.
We're in a process. And the process started as soon as we stepped out the box, like I said, on the stage. Once we stepped out the box, we are now currently exploring, discovering, understanding, taking in, learning from, learning with the people and the things that are outside that box, and that's where I am.
I feel like we're in history. If this is what we're doing now, imagine in 5, 10 years to come. It's going to be so much better. You only can go up from here.
We're in revolutionary times. People are deciding that it's time to come out, to be accepted, and to be comfortable in who they are, whether they're black or white, whether they're straight, whether they're gay, whether they have little education level, no money, whether they're rich or poor. We're coming out and we're going to make a difference.
This is how we have to be working with these children, to allow them to have some hopes and dreams. I mean, I'm absolutely convinced, and I don't care what the science says, the researchers, but I'm absolutely convinced that programs like ours will awaken the artistic impulse in even 1 or 2 children who will then live a life of creative expression instead of beating people up in the streets. And that's okay with me. I mean, that's, and even if they only do it for fun, is worth it.
About 80%, 70 to 80% of the people who turn out to be involved in these projects are women. And sometimes it's like climbing a mountain to get up on that stage. And so with the encouragement of support of the professional theater team, they achieve that. And then they go back to their normal lives, and things just don't look the same anymore.
What I love about the theater is that people can come together and create things together. It isn't a place where people necessarily come and simply debate what is true. They create something new together. It's a creative environment. People need that. We need that, in my opinion, as a species. The loss of that makes development, human development, impossible. And social therapy is nothing more than an effort of people to come together and create an environment where they don't have to be truth tellers, where they don't have to be knowers, where they can be creators, where they can be performers, where people can creatively perform together and build something together that is theirs, that can transform the next week, that can be turned around, that can be changed.
We begin from this not very well referenced phrase of Vygotsky's when he's talking about play, children's play, and why play is developmental. He says that in play, children perform a head taller than they are. And there are 2 places, it seemed to us, that people are allowed to both be who they are and be who they're not at the same time. One is in childhood, when they're playing, and the other is on the stage, children, teens, and adults. When an actor on the stage or one's daughter is playing Cinderella, we don't stop the show and say, that's my daughter, that's not Cinderella. We are aware and we relate to that person as both who she is and other than who she is, namely a 5-year-old and Cinderella, the character.
It's a core concept in our school.
Yes.
We don't want the student just learning. How to help them, how to organize them to use what they learn into part of their practice. If we use the concept of performance, we are trying to organize the resource for them to perform, to have the condition to have a different performance. For example, we organize them to teach, not only in the school, in the night market. So you can see the housewife, the taxi driver, they come to the school to learn the bioscience. After that, he can have a different social role to face the society. When he steps on the night market, he can talk to the people. What did I learn in Ludi Community University? A taxi driver can be a science teacher.
Yes.
Right? A housewife can be a experiment operator.
Carnival is grotesque realism. It is where the community in 3-4 days changes the totality of how we are together normally. So the rich ones have to play poor, and the poor ones have to play rich. The ugly ones have to be very beautiful, and the really beautiful ones, they have to be really ugly. And so in that way, they experience each other in a totally new way, and actually perhaps see, oh, I have new ways of performing and becoming.
And we go make the pyramid to fight AIDS and sing the condom song with the audience. Condom, condom, testing. Condom, condom, testing. The show's over.
I was in Sierra Leone last year. There was this community event, and there was a girl who was... It was just under a tree. It was just under a big tree where there was some shadow, and the whole community was gathered. And they did some dancing and music first, and then this girl came up and she had made a poem, and she had been asked to tell the poem, to do a short performance on the poem. And she was crying while she was doing it. I could see a tear running. And I asked my translator, what is happening? And he said, she's very happy that she can actually, this is the first time she's being listened to. So I guess for people, especially young people who are gathering their identity in a well, I work in war-torn countries, so in a place where the whole social cohesion is gone sometimes. So in places like that, for young people to be able to have a voice and to show to the rest of the community, to show to their parents or to the elders what their view is, what their issues are. Yeah, I see a great healing power in that.
A person who is suffering from mental illness for long years, they have shattered, their confidence is shattered, they have a negative self-image, and whatever you do to build a self-image, unless you can show them that, okay, they can do, they won't get it from within their heart. So a performance enables a person to know what they are, to discover themselves, I think, to build a positive self-image. And thereby, I think they can, what I have said, they can change the world. So this is how, I am not telling that we are transforming this person who is suffering from schizophrenia. I will tell we are transforming the community, the attitude, the stigma.
And that we're trying to get in between two people, in addition to everything else. Trying to get in between two people.
One really gets a sense of power of this kind of approach to restore life. And I just wish that that power really spreads around the world.